Ever get that feeling? Like you're playing a market game where everyone else seems to know the rules except you. Well, today's deep dive is all about flipping the table and rewriting those rules. We're diving into The Market Mirage, a book that pulls zero punches in, showing us how the big players, the ones with the real power, rig the system.
Yeah, and you know what hooked me right away? It's honest. So many books out there promise to make you a Wall Street wizard, but the Market Mirage cuts through that. It admits that even the pros, the guys in the expensive suits, even they struggle to beat the market consistently.
No magic formulas here, right? But hey, don't hit that sell button just yet. This isn't about freaking us out. It's about arming us with the knowledge to survive and maybe even come out ahead. So what was it about this book that really resonated with you? What, from your own experience, made you want to pick it up?
I've always been kind of obsessed with those invisible forces, the ones behind the scenes that are actually moving the market. And this book, it just nails it. That whole idea that these huge institutions, they've got a level of influence that most regular traders, they don't even come close to grasping. That's where it all starts.
They're practically operating on another plane of existence, right?
Mm.
The market mirage. It's like it's handing us a decoder ring to see what's really going on. And one of the first things it decodes is their data advantage. Forget those basic stock charts. We're talking next level stuff here.
Oh, yeah. We're sitting here refreshing our news feeds and these institutions. They've got satellites watching how many cars are in the mall parking lot. They're analyzing every tweet and status update in real time to gauge sentiment.
Talk about an uneven playing field. They've got night vision goggles and we're stumbling around in the dark. And it's not just the data itself, it's how they use it, the sheer speed and volume they can handle, all thanks to these algorithms.
Right. We're talking tens of thousands of trades every minute, squeezing profits out of tiny little price moves that we wouldn't even notice. By the time we see something happening on our charts, bam, they're already counting their money.
Makes you want to chuck your phone out the window, doesn't it? But before we give up and become Luddites, let's talk about another weapon they've got, liquidity.
This is where it gets really wild. These big players, they can actually massage the market, They can influence how much liquidity is out there. And that lets them nudge prices up or down without most of us even realizing what's happening. It's like they're puppeteers and we're the ones dancing on the strings.
And we're sitting here wondering why a stock suddenly took off or took a nosedive for no apparent reason. Like watching a magic show, only we're the ones getting tricked. Then there's this whole order flow thing. What is that exactly?
Okay, imagine you've got this live heat map, right? It's showing you every buy order, every sell order flowing through the market in real time. That's order flow. And it's basically like reading the minds of these big institutions. They can see where the market's going before it even gets there.
So they got a GPS, and we're navigating with a beat-up old map. It's like they've got a head start in the race, and we're still tying our shoelaces. So let's recap. They got the data, the algorithms, they're controlling liquidity, they're using order flow, and it all adds up to them basically running the show.
Exactly. And here's the thing. They're not just using these tools to make money for themselves. They're using them to profit off of us, off of our predictable behavior.
Which brings us to that aha moment that just blew my mind. The book exposes how the very tools we use, the ones we think are protecting us, like stop-loss orders and risk-reward ratios, can actually be used against us. It's kind of scary when you think about it. They're like mind readers, only they're reading our wallets instead of our thoughts. And the Market Mirage, it gets into the nitty-gritty of how they actually pull this off. One term that really stood out to me was spoofing. What is that exactly?
Ugh, spoofing. That's a sneaky one. Imagine this. You've got a big institution, right? They put in this huge buy order, like a whale jumping out of the water. The price shoots up, and everyone else, they see that, and they think, woohoo, this thing's going to the moon. So they start buying too, pushing the price up even higher.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing where this is going.
Right? And just when everyone's piling in that original big buy order, poof, gone. It was never real to begin with. They were just creating this illusion, this phantom demand to suck everyone else in.
So they're basically yanking away the rug right when everyone's jumping up and down on it, like, fooled you. It's
Yeah.
like you said, a mirage. You think you see something real, but it's just an illusion.
Exactly. And it gets even more twisted, even more elaborate with a tactic called layering.
Layering. Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
So instead of one giant obvious order, they use a bunch of smaller ones, like breadcrumbs, all at slightly different price levels. It creates this impression that the price is moving naturally, gradually, like it's being driven by, actual supply and demand.
So it's harder to spot, harder to see that someone's pulling the strings. because it looks like just the normal ebb and flow of the market.
Exactly. They're masters of camouflage, blending right in.
Yeah.
And that plays into our psychology too. We see everyone else buying and we think, well, I don't want to miss out.
It's like we're hardwired to follow the herd, even when the herd's being let off a cliff. And speaking of hidden agendas, we can't forget about those dark pools we talked about earlier. They're part of this whole manipulation game too, aren't they?
Absolutely. Remember, these are like these exclusive clubs, right? These private exchanges where institutions can trade huge blocks of shares without anyone else seeing what they're doing. It's all hush hush behind closed doors.
So while we're all looking at the regular market thinking we've got the full picture, they're over there making side deals in the shadows. Like I said, rigged. It can feel kind of hopeless.
Mm.
But the Market Mirage makes this point that even the tools we use to protect ourselves, things like stop loss orders, they can actually make us more predictable, more vulnerable to these tactics. How does that work?
It's all about patterns. See, when you use a stop loss order, you're essentially telling the market, if the price drops below this point, I'm out. And guess what? These institutions with their fancy algorithms and order flow data, they can see those stop loss orders piling up.
So they know exactly where we're going to panic and sell.
Bingo. They can literally see our pain points. And what do they do with that information? They use it against us. They'll push the price down just enough to trigger a cascade of stop loss orders, create a mini panic, and then scoop up those shares at a discount.
Wait, so my attempt to manage risk, to protect myself, that's actually making me a target? So what am I supposed to do? Just let my losses run wild?
No, not at all. Risk management is still crucial, but it's not about blindly following some rigid formula. It's about understanding the bigger picture, reading the market's mood, and being adaptable. Sometimes that means widening your stop loss. Sometimes it means using a different type of order altogether.
So it's like instead of trying to control the market, I need to learn to move with it, like surfing, adjusting to the waves instead of trying to fight them.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, that rhythm. And speaking of getting caught up in the moment, another big theme the Market Mirage tackles is this whole allure and danger of quick wins. That desire to get rich quick, it's a powerful drug, and it can really cloud our judgment.
Tell me about it. I've fallen for my fair share of hot stock tips. That promise of easy money, it's hard to resist.
And the big players, they know that. They're masters at creating these volatility traps, pumping up the price of a stock, creating all this hype, just to lure in those traders who are chasing a quick buck. They'll use social media, spread rumors, even manipulate the options market, all to create this false sense of urgency, this feeling that you've got to get in right now before you miss out.
It's like those games at the carnival, the ring toss, the balloon darts, to make it look so easy, so tempting. But it's all designed for you to lose.
Exactly. And just like those carnival games, chasing quick wins in the market, it usually ends in disappointment or worse. So how do we break free from that get rich quick mentality? It's about shifting our perspective, understanding that real success, lasting success, it doesn't come from chasing the latest fad or trying to outsmart these institutions. The Market Mirage really hammers home the importance of long-term thinking, of tuning out all that noise and focusing on the fundamentals.
Easier said than done, right? Especially these days when we're bombarded with information 24/7. Everyone telling us what to buy, what to sell, when to do it. So we've uncovered their tactics, we're working on our emotional control, but what does it actually look like to navigate this market, this system, where the odds seem so stacked against us? It's funny, we've been spending all this time talking about these big players, these puppet masters pulling the strings, but it makes you wonder, are we the little guys, the retail traders, are we just kidding ourselves? Like, do we even really have any power in this whole system?
Yeah, the thing about the Market Mirage, it throws you a curveball. It says maybe the biggest illusion of all is thinking we're somehow outside of this system, that it's us against them. The reality is we're all part of the same game.
Wait, so you're saying we're not just pawns in their game, we're actually important.
Exactly. Think about it. They need someone to buy when they're selling, someone to sell when they're buying, right? They need us, even if we're acting on emotion, even if we don't have all the information. We're the ones providing the liquidity, the fuel that makes the whole engine run.
Wow. Okay, so if we're not trying to beat the market, but we're trying to understand our place in it, how does that change the way we think about investing?
It's about changing the goal. It's not about outsmarting these giants. It's about playing a smarter game. It means accepting that we're not going to win every hand, and that's fine. Instead of chasing those quick wins, we need to think long term. Diversification, smart risk management, and maybe the hardest part, keeping our emotions in check.
So it's less about predicting the future and more about having a solid plan and sticking with it, even when things get bumpy.
Exactly. The market, it loves chaos. It loves uncertainty.
Yeah.
That's how these institutions, that's where they thrive. But when we understand that, when we see the tactics they're using, we can make better decisions, protect ourselves, and put ourselves in a position to win in the long run.
So our toolkit, long-term thinking, diversification, managing risk, keeping our cool, understanding the system, master those.
Yeah.
And we can not just survive, but thrive.
Exactly. It's not about conquering the market. It's about coexisting with it. It's about riding the waves, not getting crushed by them.
This deep dive into the market mirage has been a wild ride. It's made me question everything I thought I knew, showed me how the game is really played, and given me a whole new perspective on what it means to be a successful investor. Thanks for breaking it all down.
Hey, knowledge is power, right? The more we know about how the market really works, the better decisions we can make. The market mirage, it's just one piece of the puzzle, but it's a big one.
Couldn't agree more. If you're listening and you haven't read it yet, go check out the market mirage. It'll make you think. And remember, the market may be a mirage, but your ability to see through it, that's your real edge. Until next time, happy investing.